The rate of children diagnosed with autism in the United States, it has been rising steadily since 2000. New data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows that this continues to be the case, especially among children of color. Mandy Gaither explains why.
At first glance, it's a disturbing trend in the U.S. In 11 communities across the country that are monitored by the CDC, more children are being diagnosed with autism.
2.8% of children, or 1 in 36, were identified as having autism.
Matthew Maynor with the CDC says 5 years ago in those same communities, 1 in 44 children were diagnosed with autism by age 8, up from 1 in 150 children in 2000.
Black, Hispanic, and Asian Pacific Islander children had a higher prevalence of autism compared to white children.
The CDC believes the rising numbers don't necessarily mean there are more cases of autism, but that screening tools are catching more of them, especially in minority populations.
Children with autism are a significantly underserved population in our country.
Pediatric psychologist Eric Butter with Nationwide Children's Hospital says this data shows that we're heading in the right direction when it comes to diagnosing autism.
The health equity and disparity issues are beginning to show some promise.
Early detection is critical. The Autism Speaks organization says treatment has a greater impact when children are young.
This report also is a call to action for us to develop more culturally informed intervention services that are able to meet these families where they are at.
Another recent CDC report shows the U.S. suffered setbacks in early detection of autism in 2020 during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. The researchers say the data may help communities come up with ways to help children who got a delayed autism diagnosis because of the pandemic as they get older. April is Autism Acceptance Month, and a new book, A Day with No Words, looks to normalize how nonverbal children communicate. The book affirms autism in a way that raises awareness, but also celebrates children. Joining me now to discuss this is Tiffany Hammond. She is the author of the book. She has autism, and she has 2 sons living with autism. We're also joined by Rebecca Barroi. She is the founder and president of Rous Publishing, which published the book. I want to thank you both for joining me at the Griot. Tiffany, let me start with you. How did the idea for this book, A Day with No Words, come about?
My youngest, he was like 7, and he came home one day and he just came up to me and said, "Hey, we should try and talk like Aiden talks." And Aiden is my oldest, and he doesn't speak, and he uses a tablet, an iPad with an app on it to communicate. And I thought it was a good idea, so we started that day just using our iPads or drawing pictures, and then it just kind of grew to doing it all day, to doing it with each other, and then going out into the community and doing it with our neighbors and the people we saw at the parks. And it just kept growing and growing. And now it's just like an everyday part of our lives now. So.
This is a story that many people share, and I think it's important for that story to get out. Rebecca, were there any challenges in getting the idea that Tiffany described onto the shelves? I mean, I know lots of people are dealing with this, but there's also oftentimes, barriers, particularly in the publishing world.
Sure. Well, I have the great privilege of being the president of the publishing house, so I get the final decision. And I was particularly excited about this book. I am an autistic publisher. I'm a mother of children with neurodiversity and with disabilities. And to be able to present, especially a Black autistic boy, in a way that celebrates his joy and normalizes the way he communicates was such an exciting prospect for me. So no, the challenges were not great, because I know, as a publisher that focuses on Black, brown, queer, disabled stories, that the readership is out there and people are very excited about this content.
That is so important. It also speaks to the value of having diverse staff, diverse leadership and also owning your own stuff, right? Or be in charge of your own stuff. Because at all those levels, you have the ability to actually do the right thing. And I'm so glad you all did. Tiffany, one of the things that I hope this book will do is challenge some of the misconceptions that people have about children living with autism and other neurodivergent children. What are some of those misconceptions?
I know that, for my youngest, he does speak. And one of the biggest things that people assume about him is that he's going to be like Sheldon off of Big Bang Theory, or he's going to have like some special talent, or he can do these super challenging math problems. Or on the other end of it, they only think of autism as being like my oldest who doesn't speak, and they'll deny that my youngest even has the diagnosis. But for my oldest, who the book is about, they often assume that because he doesn't speak, he doesn't understand anything. Like, he doesn't understand words. He doesn't know how to read them. He doesn't know how to respond to them. They'll talk down to him. They'll say a lot of negative things about him. They just assume he's not aware of the world around him. And that's probably the biggest thing that we encounter, is them not understanding who he is and that he understands what's going on around him.
That's such a powerful point. And we see that a lot across the world of disability studies and disabilities in general, is that we either think people are incapable of doing anything, or we ascribe to them some kind of magical or superpowers, as opposed to seeing them as human beings who are aware and conscious and who have strengths and weaknesses like all human beings do. I love the fact that you're able to highlight that and show that kind of complexity and diversity. Rebecca, I also know your journey a little bit. You were an author who left. I won't say left, because you never stopped being a writer, but you decided to get into publishing. What was your motivation for making that shift?
So it was a combination of two things. May of 2018, I was at a writers' conference with my former publisher, and I asked the CEO at the end of the conference why I was the brownest person in the room. I'm mixed race, black and white, but obviously I can navigate as ambiguously brown or racially or ethnically ambiguous. And his answer was that I needed to understand that they cater to an affluent audience. And what I know to be true is that Black women are the most educated, most well-read segment of the population. So I knew that he didn't know much about the audience or how to even make a profit in publishing. Then in 2020, it was revealed that 12 of the disinformation dozen, the people responsible for most of the disinformation around COVID on the internet, were authors from that house. And when they refused to do anything about it, when the leadership told me there was nothing they could do, I left and had the opportunity to start my own publishing house. And I asked myself what a truly equitable, diverse, liberated publishing house looks like. And that's how we started Row House. And I'm just super, super excited to get these voices out there.
Wow. And what a voice to get out here. You know, Tiffany, the story you're telling is important, not just to raise awareness, but also potentially for saving lives. When you look at the intersection of race and ability, when you talk about what it means to be Black and autistic, that's a narrative and a journey that is helpful for parents, for teachers, but also for people who want to protect children from law enforcement. They have to understand our tendencies. They have to understand how we move through the world. It could actually save our lives. And so this book, the stakes are so high, but the words are so rich and the book is so powerful. I want to thank you for writing it. Rebecca, I want to thank you for being a part of the publishing journey, and I want to thank you both for joining me on